Hi, I'm Cal Schwartz, production manager for Shakespeare in Detroit. Today we'll be doing another tutorial, just as colorful as this artwork behind me, when we make tie-dye shirts. This fulfills our science portion of our STEAM program at Shakespeare in Detroit. Stay tuned. So first, I went ahead and I bought this awesome Tulip brand tie-dye kit. This is available at most craft stores and definitely online, or if you Google search Tulip, you can find their website. Inside it is all the things you'll need. Now this kit particularly is meant for parties, so it's a little bit larger and meant to dye multiple items. You can find smaller kits that are not quite as extensive but have just as many colors, and you're able to get through 1 or 2 projects with it. Inside you'll find plastic gloves, rubber bands, a plastic tablecloth, all these awesome dyes, and this instruction manual. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look through all of our patterns here and pick which one we want to use. And I think the one we're going to use for today is the super cool spiral. It has lots of colors in it. One of the things you'll also need, in addition to the Tulip brand dyes, is something to dye on. You can't just put this on a flat surface because you need to have the dyes drip through. So I have a bucket here with a screen over the top of it. That way the dyes can drip down, because if the shirt just sits in the dyes, it absorbs all the colors and it makes it kind of muddy. And of course, you're going to need a t-shirt or something that you want to attempt to dye. Cotton fabrics work the best. Silk, rayon also work. I would avoid polyester. Polyester really doesn't take the dyes. So, here we go. So here's what we're going to do for the swirl. Now, in order to achieve the effect, you have to pick where you want your swirl to start, where the center of the swirl is. I'm going to pick right here, right in the center of the shirt. So what you do is you go ahead, you grab and pinch, and you start twisting. And see how it starts making this sun ray effect of folds? That's what we want to achieve, because that's what gives us our really cool lines. So we keep twisting, and no matter where you start on the shirt, you'll do the same thing and twist, 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 but that's where the center of your spiral will start. Now, as it begins to twist up, you want to make sure that these folds are nice and crisp. You don't want them folded over too much, because that's what gives you a nice clean look when you go ahead and apply the dye. So we keep twisting and we keep zhuzhing, making sure our folds are nice and neat. You can take it from the edge and kind of pull it, and it makes a nice straight line. We keep twisting and we keep twisting, and then we just kind of start tucking these guys in just like that. And you want to get it as tight as you can, which that looks like about as far as it's going to go with us. And keep smoothing everybody down. And then, here's the kind of tricky part. You take your rubber bands that come with the kit, and you slide it over this without disrupting the folds that you've made. You want it to look exactly the same as when you twisted it up in the first place. And these rubber bands sometimes will break, but they give you plenty of them, so don't worry. And I start by making an X with my rubber bands, just like that. And see how it looks. Oh, the back looks great. Look at that. That's what we want it to look like. So we can go ahead and we can kind of clean these up a little bit, bring these all up to the forefront. There we go. We'll just tidy it up so it looks nice and tight. And then we're gonna do our rubber bands the other directions, because the more rubber bands you put, the more white lines there'll be left in between the colors that help separate your colors. Now, if you have a smaller shirt, you can go ahead and double the rubber bands over and get them nice and tight. The point is that the rubber bands are so tight that the dye can't go underneath them, and that's what leaves you with the white under the shirt. So we'll do another one this way. Oh, what do we think? Do we need one more? Maybe we'll do one more. We'll do one right here. So we're going to add another one on. Perfect. So now that we have our shirt wrapped up, we're going to go ahead and take our dyes. Today we're going to use blue, yellow, and red. Now, why are we using blue, yellow, and red? Because in science class we learned that these are our three primary colors. We also learned this in art class too. But what can you do with your primary colors? From these three colors, you can make any color that you want. So I decided that they were the most important. So all you have to do is when you take your little bottles of dye powder out of the box, you fill them with water up until this line, and then you give them a shake with gloves on because they can get messy until all your dyes are dissolved. Now I mixed these up a little earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a shake right now just to make sure that everybody is still mixed up. Now one thing to remember when you go ahead and do this is your shirt can either be dry or wet when you use it. It doesn't matter. If it's dry, your colors are not going to be as intense. If it's wet, the colors will be more intense and the dye will absorb better. But one thing to remember is that you have to, whether the shirt is dry or wet, pre-wash the shirt, especially if it's a brand new shirt. Because you have to remove the sizing and all the chemicals that go into the fabric making when they make the shirt. Because those chemicals, those are called sizings, they will prevent the dye from absorbing into the fabric. So you want to avoid anything like fabric softener, heavy cleaners, things like that, because that stops the dye from soaking into the fabric. So always pre-wash your shirt. And because I pre-washed my shirt, I'm going to go ahead and do a wet dye because I want the colors to be nice and intense. So let's start with red. And we are going to just go ahead and apply the dye however you want to, wherever you want to. We'll do something like that. And let's maybe do a little bit over here. And see how that dye starts soaking in? And deep down in the folds, it might not soak in all the way. And over those, under the rubber bands, it probably won't soak in as much there either. Oh, we'll put a little more red in there. Yes, red. And we'll add some to the middle. Now, I'm not going to use all my red right now because you have to remember, you got to do the other side of the shirt too. So, I'm going to give my yellow a little shake here. And then I am going to mix in my yellow. And now let's see what happens when our yellow meets our red. Who knows what color you get when yellow and red mix? I think you'll be able to see when you start noticing them bleed together here. And see how it sprays a little bit? This is why it's good to have it over a bucket. And also, if it's sitting directly in the dye, all these colors mix together and it gets muddy and it's just not as pretty as if you have it raised up. So again, I'm not going to use all my yellow. I'm going to save it. Can always come back and use some more. And I think we see what color we get when we mix yellow and red. And now, let us move on to using our blue. We'll give our blue a quick shake because it's been sitting there for a minute. And let's put it on. Look at that's a pretty blue. Look at that. And who knows, when blue and yellow mix, what do you get? You can see it. It's green. Yes, green. And let's put some over here. What do you get when you mix blue and red? It's kind of hard to tell from this video, but you get purple. Awesome. Oh, is it a white there? Let's make that blue. Sometimes when you see these fun dots, it comes into play later and it makes a fun design on your garment. Okay. I'm okay with that. So let's go ahead and flip her over. And you can try to do the exact same pattern as you want to, but this is the back of the shirt. So if your colors are not in the exact same place, it doesn't matter. All colors belong together. And let's put this like that. A little bit of blue. Ooh, look at that pretty green right there. I'm going to cover it with blue. Okay, here we go. Blue's my favorite color, so we're going to put more blue on the back. Yes, blue. All right, so let's add back in some of our yellow. Oh, look at that cool green. How neat. And let's do one over here, because that I can tell was already yellow. And don't forget to do the edges, so you can kind of bleed your colors in together like that. Ooh, that's cool. Okay. And now let's do our red. Give it a shake. Always keeping it mixed. Oop, we splattered. Making sure to get my edges real good. Hello. All right. And then we can get the edge right here, nice and gently. Mix them all up, see what they do. If you buy the big kit, there's a lot of really neat colors in there. So you can come up with endless color combinations. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Mr. Cal, what does tie-dyeing have to do with theater? Well, tie-dyeing is only one practice of what we do. Dyeing fabric is very important. Now, this isn't like Romeo and Juliet, dyeing. This is dye, D-Y-E. So what we're doing is we're taking fabric and we're changing the color of it. It doesn't have to be fabric. It can be leather, it could be wood, it could be straw, anything we want. Sometimes designers want a specific color, and if you can't find that color, you have to make it. So that's when we go ahead and dye, paint, do whatever we need to do to make that color exactly what we want, or make that color match something else that's existing. So doing tie-dye is a simple way, and it's a great introduction to showing you the process of dyeing in which that we use when we're making theater. Now, tie-dyeing is a little different. When we're dyeing fabric for shows or dyeing something else, oftentimes it's in a washing machine or a very big dye bath, which if you think of like a giant soup pot, like in a big kitchen, that's what a dye bath looks like in a commercial shop. So I'm just going ahead and I'm just getting all these little white marks here, and we can kind of cheat and peek and see. Ooh, look at it bleed so nice there. Okay, so now this has to sit for 6 to 8 hours minimum. Now, oftentimes you can leave these overnight. That's the easiest way to do it. Then you're going to take your rubber bands off, which I'll show you in a little bit, and rinse it out and rinse it in the washing machine. But first, I have another option for you. Now, some of you may say, Mr. Cal, I don't like all those colors. Those are dumb. Well, you can do this exact same thing on a black piece of fabric with bleach. Now, we've done this technique at Shakespeare in Detroit before. We used it for Antony and Cleopatra for some of the soldiers in our production. And all it is regular household bleach that I've put in the spray bottle. I've done the exact same method as I did the spiral. I twisted it and put the rubber bands on, but you just hose this bad boy down with bleach, and it's gradually gonna pull the color out of that black fabric and turn it like an orange and then a rust, and the longer it sits, the lighter it gets, and it'll turn like a whitish gray. So I'm gonna put a whole bunch in the center, let that soak in and kind of bleed outwards. And then I'm gonna do on the back side the exact same thing. Let's just hose her down and see what it does. Now, the cool thing about tie-dye, there's no way to predict what it's gonna look like. So that's part of the excitement, is that you're waiting to see how it's gonna turn out. And the bleach is the same method. We won't know until we let this sit and open it up exactly what the pattern's gonna look like. But if you follow those instructions and you look online, There are so many different options you can pick. You don't just have to do the spiral. You can use beads and put rubber bands around them to get little blobs of color. That's called shibori. You can do folds, you can do crumples, you can do whatever you want. So now, unfortunately, we have to wait. And in the next part of the video, I will show you how to un-rubber band it and how to rinse it out. And now, the moment we have been waiting 6 to 8 hours for. We are going to unrubber band our tie-dye and see exactly what it looks like. So, very carefully, you are going to pull off your rubber bands because they will splatter. So you don't want to be shooting dye everywhere. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting! Whoa. You can already see some of the white that's left in there. Holy smokes. Look how cool. So, here is your very own tie-dye shirt. There's the front, here's the back. Now, what you want is you want to get this into a washing machine with warm water and a little bit of soap, and you want to run it through a normal wash cycle because there's still a lot of extra dye that's in here, and you have to get all that extra dye out. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming out over the course of many other washes. So make sure you give it a really good wash on warm to rinse out all that dye, and then probably for the next 2 washes even after that, wash it by itself, because dye, like you know when you wash red clothes, will still come out even after it's been washed several times. But now what I'm really excited for is let's see what the bleach one looks like. So same thing, be careful because there's still quite a bit of bleach in this when you're removing your rubber bands. And you can already see how it makes that really cool pink and orange kind of look. And if you can, save your rubber bands because you can use them again for your next project. And, whoa, look at this one. This one's cool. This is the bleach. That's the back. And here is the front. How cool is that? So, same thing. Put this in a washing machine. Washing soap, laundry detergent. Run it through a normal cycle on warm. You can also then rinse it on cold. Bleach may take a couple of times to get out, so you very well could wash it on 2 different cycles. Remember that it is going to fade a little bit, the ones with the color, but that is okay. You still have your artwork there. It's your very own. And that's all you need to know about tie-dyeing. Make sure if you go ahead and do this project and you complete it, please take pictures, take videos. We'd love to see you guys wearing your shirts. Don't forget to tag us at #Shakespeare STEAM. That way we can find you guys on the web, and then we can put your pictures up on our website to see how cool you guys look. Thanks so much.